Hey again everybody, it's Robert184, 2 R's to B's from gundam.tk, which is gundamreviews.net, and Gundam Age episode 14 has aired, and I've been saying for the last few weeks that the first generation is bound to run out one of these episodes, and instead it's just been dragged on, but in a good way because it's all action and emotion packed into this, what seems to be the penultimate episode. The silhouette was of the Sparrow, and you can see right at the start that the Sparrow and the Diva's mobile suits are advancing along with the Diva and their ragtag fleet. None of the ships seem to have been destroyed last episode as they're advancing towards the giant asteroid Ambat to finally lay down the smack on the UE. Well, on the UE base, we have their mysterious mass leader raise his fist in anger and say, all of our plans have stopped working ever since that damn Gundam showed up. Don't forget to check out Gundam on MAHQ for their podcast. But then he shows off that they have a pink mobile suit that's going to solve all of their problems. Back at the ship, Wolf's in trouble until Flit shows up in the Sparrow, saving his butt from a few Gafrans before hearing a strange voice, which we all know is Dessel, and rushing off to go confront him far away from where the main action is happening. And you'd think that Flit would have enough combat experience to know that meditating with your eyes closed in the middle of space probably not the best idea, because all of a sudden, the Zetis is right on top of him. Before things get too serious, we're going to have time to catch up on a few other plot points from the last episode, as Mr. Madonna is going to return to his ship to be comforted by his very anime wife, and she's going to say, well, don't worry about it, HL dolls is better than nothing, and she says, besides, now you can do what you do best, which is to fix the ones that are coming back from the front. And speaking of which, we get to see Rakt invoking the name of Don Boyage, as he's really brought the two former adversaries of Zalem and Elba together to fight against the UE properly. But this episode isn't about the supporting cast, it's just about these two, Flit and Dessel, as they finally start really going at it, and Dessel is coming across as just the biggest jerk in the world despite his small stature. He's childish, he's petty, and all this is to him is playing, but it's a game that he's playing for keeps, and yes, he's prepared to die and to kill along the way for sure. And I couldn't help but think that finally we're getting to see a real battle where the two pilots are going at it with all they've got. And they've got some great moves. You can actually have the points where they're just lines of light that are bouncing off each other in space. But there's also good moves where they grab each other's arms, and the Zetis is ready to fire its chest cannon before Flit uses the Sparrow's maneuverability to get out of the way. And Dessel is, as he goes on about playing, he's going to call in a toy, which is certainly going to change the way the battle goes. As a strangely shaped pink UE mobile suit interjects between them, Flit is shocked, of course, Dessel's just laughing like a madman, and of course you could have guessed from the last episode that the pilot is going to be the very unfortunate Lalah Tiffa Yurin Sune. And as they cut to commercial to sell games and plastic models and everything in between, I can't help but think of all the kits that we haven't gotten from this first generation, including Yurin's new one. And I hope that we do get that to add to the high-grade collection. And remember, you can check all of their reviews out on gundam.tk. After the break, Largan takes his Genoas back inside the white base for some maintenance, and here he opens up the cockpit and has a good chat with Emily about the fact that it's thanks to Flit that they were even able to get this far, because he is special, and the importance of belief, which Emily is beginning to understand. And as he's tasked with Malaise with heading out into leading a new group into battle, he says anybody can do it as long as you've got somebody there who believes in you. We're then introduced to the Farsha, the mobile suit that you saw before, and Yurin here is happy and sad at the same time, of course, as she's been forced into the mobile suit. This is apparently, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but the only way that she could ever see Flit again after Dessel had come and kidnapped her in the last episode. And then we get to see her weapon is going to be funnels / whatever you want to call them in the shape of pink flowers, which sort of seems suitable for that. And the reason that Dessel even brought her in here is just because, as they're all X-Rounders, he can add to his own power just by her mere presence being there. And in addition to that, she's not controlling the mobile suit. It's all Dessel, which means she really is his toy, which is going to be a theme we get to see play out here. The fight scenes are great here as we get to see all of Dessel going nuts, plus the bits going at Flit. There's a good scene where when she sends out the funnels, they've got him dead to rights. And as all 5 beams converge on him in the middle, he's able to dodge, although at the cost of losing his skirt armor. And he starts to use limbs. And then it's time for a more and more insane every minute Dessel to get ready to drive his Zetis sword into Flit's chest. Before, in true Gundam style, Yurin is able to take the Farsha in between them, and instead it's her who's impaled through the chest, which is enough time for us to flash back to all the good times that they had back on the original colony and on her resort over the last few weeks. And it's a pretty touching moment as she says, "I just wanted to see you again. I wanted to be with you forever. And most importantly, I just want to live." Which, thanks to the cruel world that is the fate of female protagonists in Gundam, is just not in the cards, as we get to see her mobile suit explode in a massive explosion, which is going to send Flit over the edge. And with the background music pumping in the background, and Dezel taunting him that you just got lucky this time, Flit, who rightly goes nuts and then rips the Zetas apart, limb from limb. They're just flying off. And in the end, Dezel continues to go on maniacally inside the cockpit, even though he's being tossed around like a doll. And as he sees the angry menace of the Gundam head, all he can do is scream, "I'm not losing," as Flit decides not to deliver the fatal blow and sends the Zetas cockpit wandering off into space. Going into this episode, which I figured is the last, I was a little bit surprised that it was going to be the Sparrow the whole time, and then perfectly making sense with all of his limbs ripped up and destroyed as he heads back towards the Diva, which is about to go into the landing bay. All of a sudden, the parts for the Titus appear in space. And as he rulks out and puts on every effect part that he has, just with pure blistering rage, the Gafrans that are protecting the hangar can do nothing as they just get sliced through like some hot butter, as he crashes into the doors, and then force them open, it seems, from sheer force of will, which is going to allow the Diva into the hangar, and First Grade Exia can only look on in awe. And with his overuse so much that they're destroyed, limbs floating through space, Grudek is able to lead a Rambaral-style landing party, as him, Malaise, and noticeably Acting Ensign Wesley Crusher get ready to begin their ground assault. And with 2 out of 3 wares down, it only makes sense that Flit's going to be in the Age 1 normal for the next and possibly last episode, as Vargas and Emily know something went wrong, but they don't know what, and the only thing that Flit can think about is how he will not forgive the UE. So you may be able to guess that I had a pretty positive impression of this episode because it did everything that Gundam should do, and it did it right. From the background music, which was done and right in all the good places, they did just enough to show off the other characters like Largan and Wolf to see the kind of thing. You can see how far Flit's come in the fact that he's saving Wolf and Largan complimenting him on him getting there. Racked his emergence as a leader, Mr. Madonna and the role that he's played, they did all that, but in the end it came down to Flit versus Dezel, who came across as being one of the more insane villains in all of Gundam, despite his young age, and it was just fantastic to see the two of them going at each other when they were fighting full out, which we haven't seen enough of in this thing. You really have to wonder why Yurin was there in the first place, but it doesn't really matter in the end because she was there, and the fact that she made the very traditional sacrifice to keep Flit alive and save him from Dezel, and the fact that Flit was going to keep Dezel alive, is just going to set up so many things in terms of the relationships that I can't wait to see how they're going to come out in the second generation. And this first generation isn't done because you may have seen at the end of the episode that there's a giant mobile armor piloted by the masked man, and that is going to have to be settled by not the other 2 wares which are destroyed, but this one right here in what should be an epic finale. But as always, that's just me, so why don't you let me know with a comment down below your thoughts on the episode, the wares, Yurin's death, Dezel and what's going to become of him, and what you expect from the last episode. Anyway, everybody, Robert184, gundam.tk, thanks for checking this out. There are more mobile suits. I'd actually buy Zalem and Elba by now, especially Rax, and if they make a Farsha, that's something I'd want to pick up as well. So hopefully, from a model perspective, there'll be a few pleasant surprises as we move on to the next generations. But in the meantime, stay tuned for next week where I'll have a review of that episode, and thanks for watching, everybody. See ya.